Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from first group. We will discuss about course in the General Linguistics from Ferdinand de Saussure. The member of group are Nurul Azizatul Khusnah with student ID number 1195030171 and Shany Oktaviani Nurryah with student ID number 1195030208. Today we will discuss about the first, what is language, what is linguistic, the second, what is linguistic sign, third, how can be linguistic sign comparable with general sign, fourth, describe the concept of arbitrariness in language, fifth, describe this concept of signifier and signified. 6. Describe the concept of lang and parole. 7. What is synchronic study of language? And the last, describe the concept of syntagmatic and associative or paradigmatic relation. Okay, the first material is what is language, what is linguistic. Language is a system of signs that express ideas and is therefore comparable to a system of writing, the alphabet of dead mutes, symbolic rites, polite formulas, military signal, etc. And linguistic is only a part of the general science of semiology. The laws discovered by semiology will be applicable to linguistics, and the latter will circumscribe a well-defined area within the mass of anthropological facts. The next material, what is linguistic sign? The linguistic sign is united, not a thing and a name, but a concept and a sound image. The latter is not the material sound, a purely psychical thing, but the psychological imprint of the sound, the impression that it makes on our sense. The sound image is sensory, and if I happen to call it a material, it is only in that sense. And by way of opposing it to the other term of the association, the concept, which is generally more abstract. Next material, how can be linguistic sign comparable with general sign? The linguistic sign poses an important question of terminology. I call the combination of a concept and a sound image a sign, but in current usage, the term generally designates only a sound image, a word, for example, arbor or etc. One tends to forget that arbor is called a sign only because it carries the concept tree, with the result that the idea of the sensory part implies the idea of the whole. The linguistic sign as defined has two primordial characteristics. In enunciating them, I also positing the basic principle of any study of this type. When these words have been introduced into the language, they are to a certain extent subject to the same evolution phonetic, morphological, etc. that other words undergo. Pigeon ultimately from the vulgar Latin pipio, derived in turn from an onomatopic formulation. Obvious proof that they lose something of their original character in order to assume that of the linguistic sign in general, which is unmotivated. Okay, for the next topic, describe the concept of arbitrariness in language. Arbitrary is the bound between the signifier and signified. It means by sign the whole that result from the associating of the signifier with the signified. It can simply say the linguistic sign is arbitrary. For the example, the ideas of sister is not linked by any inner relationship, to the succession of sound SOR which server as it is signified in French. That is called be represented actually by just any other sequence is proved by differences among language and by the very existence of different language, the signifiance ox has as it is signifier BOF on one side of the border and ox on the other. Okay, that's all from me. For next topic will be presented by Nurul Azizatul Khusnah. Time is yours.
So for the next material is explained by me, Nurul Azizatul Khusnah, with ID number 11950300171. The next material is what is the concept of a signifier and signified. So, as a linguist, Saussure posthumously published a book named Course in General Linguistics in 113 through notes written by his students at the University of Geneva in 196 until 111. Saussure's treatment of the linguistic sign as composed signifier and signified, and his characterization of language as a system of differences, each word being identified by its difference from the other word in the system, flow through the work of structural and post-structural theories. So, what is signifier and signified? The signifier is a material form, something that can be heard, seen, smell, touch, or taste. In other words, this is the physical form of the sign. Meanwhile, signified is the mental concept associated with a sign. Saussure calls the concept or meaning mental impression or association of the thing. So let's take the example, the concept of Google as the signifier, and the signified is a search engine on the internet are inseparably one. You can have one without the other. The sound image or impression in our minds is of the logo representing Google, and through our language system, we know how that image sounds mentally. We know the concept or meaning associated with this sound impression is that Google is a large search engine on the internet. So for number 6, we have lang in peril. What is lang in peril? Lang is grammar. Grammar is related to the system structure with how we can speak in contexts such as the sound sign system. However, the sound signal system is already pictured or spelled out in mind. We have a language system in our mind that is structured. Meanwhile, peril, what is peril? Peril is what we think. Sometimes it is not the same as the reality of the speech. For the example, when we make a presentation in front of the class, a definition is already arranged in our mind, but when it comes to speech acts, there are many things that distract us. For example, by nervousness or maybe lack of vocabulary. The error is in the lang can arrange words well. Next, for number 7, we have synchronic study of language. What is synchronic study of language? It is everything that relates to the static side of our science. The time studied may be either the present or a particular point in the past. Synchronic analysis can also be made of date languages such as Latin. Synchronic linguistics is concentrated with diachronic linguistics or historical linguistics, the study of a language over a period of time. For number 8, we have diachronic study of language. What is diachronic study of language? It is everything that has to do with evolution. Diachronic literally means across time, and it describes any work which maps the shifts and fractures and mutations of languages over the centuries. In gross outline, it is similar to evolutionary biology, which maps the shift and transformations of rocks. So, similarly, synchrony and diachrony designate respectively a language state and an evolutionary pace. For the last one, we have syntagmatic and associative or paradigmatic relations. Combinations supported by linearity are syntagms. The syntagm is always composed of two or more consecutive units. In French, relire, or in English, reread. In French, contre tous. In English, against everyone. In the syntagm, a term acquires its value only because it stands in opposition to everything that precedes or follows it, or to both. The syntagmatic relation is in presentasi. It is based on two or more terms that occur in an effective series. But we must realize that in the syntagm, there is no clear-cut boundary between the language fact, which is a sign of collective usage, and the fact that belongs to speaking and depends on individual freedom. So, what is associative or paradigmatic relations? Mental association creates other groups beside those based on the comparing of terms that have something in common. Through its grasp of the nature of the relations that bind the terms together, the mind creates as many associative series as there are diverse relations. For instance, in enseignement in French, or teaching in English, enseigner in French, or teach in English. One element, the radical, is common to every term. The same word may occur in a different series formed around another common element. The suffix enseignement, armament, changement, etc., or the association may spring from the analogy of the concept signified: enseignement, instruction, apprentissage, education, etc., or again simply from the similarity only of form or of meaning. So that is our presentation for critical theory assignment. Me, Nurul, Azizatul, Khusnah, and my partners Shany, Oktaviani, Nurryah. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it will be useful and add to your knowledge. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.